What if sanctuary wasn't just a place, but a way of living? Welcome to the Sanctuary Network, your weekly home for conversations that awaken the heart, heal the body, and inspire the spirit. I'm your host, Mary Ellen Popyk, the creator of Spirit Fest and the Natural Wellness Expos. For 2 decades, I've been creating spaces, now creating a bold new broadcast for mind, body, and spirit, where seekers, healers, and teachers come together to share wisdom, laughter, and transformation. We've seen what happens when communities gather. People become enlivened. Now, through the Sanctuary Network, that same spirit is reaching you, wherever you are in the world. Each week, we'll sit down with thought leaders, authors, and everyday visionaries. We'll also shine a light on the grassroots voices of the sanctuary marketplace, the healers, vendors, and practitioners who make this movement thrive. This isn't just another show, it's your sanctuary, a space to pause, reflect, and reconnect with what matters most. So, take a deep breath, open your heart, and join me. Together, let's step into the sanctuary. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit. We are going to be having another fascinating conversation. And today we're going to be talking about metaphysics and the new era of spiritual learning, awakening intuition, consciousness, and community. So I'd like to first of all welcome my special guest, Ronnie Tsunami. Thank you for joining us.
Aloha.
We're glad you're here. You were at Spirit Fest Fort Myers for the people that were there, and you have got a lot going on with your Metaphysical Learning Center, and we're going to get into all of that. But first of all, let me give you a proper introduction. Ronnie Tsunami is an author, speaker, consciousness researcher, musician, and founder of the Metaphysical Learning Center. His life's work is dedicated to helping people explore the deeper questions of existence, awaken their intuitive abilities, and discover a greater sense of purpose, connection, and spiritual understanding. Ronnie has a unique background that bridges technology, science, and spirituality. He spent years serving as a U.S. Air Force computer operations specialist, a Pentagon network engineer, and a technology executive before embarking on a journey to explore the mysteries of consciousness and the nature of reality. Throughout that journey, he's investigated topics ranging from intuition, psychic development, to afterlife communication. He has a lot of EVPs. I want to hear about those. Quantum theories of consciousness and the relationship between science and spiritual experience. So as founder of the Metaphysical Learning Center, he's created a global community where seekers, educated, intuitives, healers, and lifelong learners can come together. He's also the author of several books: The God Signal, The Divine Frequency That Guides You, Physics, Faith, and Phenomena, Real Proof of Afterlife, of Life After Death, and The Psychic Frequency, Tuning into Your Natural Intuitive Abilities. So thank you for being here with all you've been gotten into. When I have guests like you come, before we really get into the nitty gritty, I'd like people to understand, obviously your bio speaks for itself. You've got so much experience, but how did you really get started with this?
So, as my bio said, I'm a technologist, right? And I've been in technology for 30 plus years in education and training. But in 2018, I underwent a Kundalini, right, an awakening, when I was going through a healing touch session in Charlotte, North Carolina. And it awakened a lot of things to where I couldn't stop reading people. And as a psychic and a psychic medium, it really boggled my mind because I'm a technologist. As a technologist, I try to explain things away. Essentially, I tried to debunk myself. So I said, this can't be real. I must be really good at deductive reasoning. I'm taking clues, from everything. I'm just really alert and aware of certain things. But then there were things I could not explain. And that's when I got into paranormal investigations and really tried to delve into understanding what was happening and why, and also how. So I started to bridge basically science, which is really the computer science that I know of, and technology, and the logical things of predictive, right? Reasoning, where you can figure things out to where how could I explain the things that I should not know, right? And so I started to bridge together science and spirituality. And so I developed a number of protocols, basically science protocols as I'm exploring. But again, as a psychic medium, there were things I was doing on the spirituality side that, quite frankly, I could not believe, but people literally were telling me, you are spot on. How did you know this? How did you know that? And yeah, there were a couple of other instances, which I write about in my book, to where there's just no way. There were synchronicities that were happening that could not be explained. And I end up jumping into quantum science, right? Quantum physics, quantum mechanics, to try to explain things that, quite frankly, physics alone could not explain. And everyone goes into, well, this doesn't meet the scientific method. There's no way to prove psychic mediums are speaking, or just psychic or intuition really is something real. What is consciousness? What is non-local consciousness? Can you speak to spirits, right? So I got into quantum physics, which we know is not theory anymore, right? We have quantum computing. Your phone right now exhibits that. So exhibits things that we learn in quantum physics that we've proven. Now people know more about quantum entanglement or quantum superposition. So there are a lot of things now that are no longer fringe, and that's where I lay. I lay right there where I try to explain spirituality from a science point of view. And often, though, I end up way in the spirituality side of things, and having to backport that to back to science to try to bridge the two, because let's face it, there are a lot of skeptics, and given AI and just the way humans are, so much we don't know what to believe, how to discern what's real versus what's not real.
Right. So you must have been involved a little bit into the woo, as I like to say, or you wouldn't have been having healing touch, because that is a fairly advanced energy healing modality.
Yes. Well, I will tell you this much. There are a couple of things that happened before that episode. So I had a bad foot, and my wife actually was the one who said, you should really meet this woman named Rita. She's in Charlotte. And Rita's comes really highly regarded. She was basically at a hospital where at the hospital, the doctors would send her cancer recovery patients, and she could help them recover faster. So my wife was like, hey, I really believe in this. And I said, listen, at this point, my foot hurts so bad, I'll do whatever, right? Let me try it. And that's where I went to her. And yes, so the woo side of me was like, I'm open to it. But even before that episode, there was an episode on a mountaintop. We were visiting Grandfather Mountain, North Carolina. And we went up there. I was all dressed up for a wedding. And as I'm dressed up for the wedding, because I'm performing, I'm a musician, right? So my wife and I are musicians. So we go up there just to take a quick look, and we're overlooking this beautiful valley, okay, Grandfather Mountain. And there's gravel in this patio, if you will, that overlooks this valley. And I'm staring out there at the visitor center at the top of this mountain. My wife says, Ronnie, we got to go. And we're running late. So I turn around and I start running. And I start running because, one, I don't want to be late, but I'm in slippery, dressy shoes. So I'm running across this gravel, and I hit this little pole that's for a flagpole or for a flagstick. And I just go, boom, and I'm flying. So I'm flying full speed, and I can see my wife's face. I'm looking at her, and I'm going, I'm dead. And then my wife's looking at me, and at that time, she was like, oh, we're going to the hospital. And she's worried about the wedding. We're going to refund the money because he can't perform. His hands are all damaged. His face, his clothes, everything is scraped up and bloodied. She's just going through all the scenarios. And all of a sudden, as I'm flying through the air, I kid you not, like the Matrix, everything stopped. And something said, put your hands out. And I said, what? So I put my hands out like this. And then it said, turn them over. Okay. And as I did that, I floated down. Like I went so I'm flying across like this. And all of a sudden I stop midair and I float down like a butterfly. And as I float down, I'm like, the ground's coming up really close. right? Fast. So put your hands out, and I'm spread eagle, so you can't see. I'm spread eagle like Spider-Man, right? My legs are spread apart, my hands are spread apart, and I'm on my fingertips and my toe tips, and I just land where I'm 1 inch from the ground. And my wife looks at me and says, she's looking at me on the ground in astonishment. I'm like still stuck like this. And finally, I get up on my knees and I stand up, and she's like, "How did you do that? How did you do that?" And I
So
said,
she saw it too?
she saw the whole thing.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I'm like, I don't know what happened. So we drive silently to the wedding. And after that, it's one thing for someone to think they think something, right? But to see it, to have someone else verify that, to me, after that, and this was years before 2000, I can't even remember the year, but it was years before 2018 when I went through the Kundalini. So I already had some strange things happening. But in 2018, when I went through the healing touch and I had images and basically video, a collage of videos flash in my eyes, that changed everything. And at that point, I was like, okay. And then after that, and I write about this in my book, The God Signal, because the God Signal is where it talks about my psychic mediumship journey. That's where there was just too many things. And I'm a science guy, right? There's got to be an explanation for everything. And I couldn't do it. I mean, I've had literally people call me out of the blue saying, "I need to work with you." I don't advertise. At that time, I didn't advertise that I was a psychic medium. How did you get my number? And they're like, "I was told to contact you and work with you." And I'm like, what? Like, it doesn't make sense, right? So there are a number of stories like that. And now I understand the science behind it. But even now, right, we're always learning new things. So I've spent the past few years, including metaphysical learning, to really help not just me, but for people to understand that they're not going insane. Because
Yes.
I thought I was going absolutely insane.
Debating whether or not that we might be crazy. So that's what, because technically channeling is a dissociative disorder. But what are we doing? We're not really just disassociating the sides of our personality. We're actually communicating with higher consciousness. So until modern psychology can actually kind of grasp that, that anyway, but again, that's what I'm saying is that we're going outside of space and time, and I don't know when science is going to officially acknowledge that.
Science obviously has a scientific method, right? Which, quite frankly, is very hard for us to even prove love or consciousness based on that scientific method. Even time is something that's very difficult to prove per the scientific method. So I'm not totally sold that, if it's not proven by the scientific method, then it's not real. And in quantum physics, there, to put this in perspective, and it'd be easier for anyone watching to grasp more about the topic of the science behind spirituality. In quantum physics, or in physics, everything is matter and energy. So everyone's taught this in school, right? In physics, everything's matter and energy, and we know that energy has to go somewhere. It can't just disappear, right? But in quantum physics, everything is information. So in information, everything is accessible, downloadable. And we use that term a lot in spirituality, right? I downloaded things. So in quantum physics, everything being information, everything is accessible, and everything is accessible by frequency. Everything in quantum physics is a frequency or a wave. Now in physics, physicists are saying the same thing, that everything is a wave. So if everything is a wave, and waves cross at times, then we can explain a lot of the things based on what we call, quote, magic or woo, are actually much more explainable. Because let's face it, even the fact that we're talking on a computer through Wi-Fi signals, we're like, well, how do you explain you can't see Wi-Fi signals? But we know we can connect. If we've got a transceiver and a receiver, we can, or something to transmit, something to receive, we know we can get a signal.
Right.
Right. And so that whole methodology of technology that we use now, right? This is practical stuff. it's easier to explain to people the science of woo, as I call it, because we have practical applications and a methodology to show how what we do now in quote our 3D or real world actually also translates to the quantum world or to the spiritual world
Right.
for us. So it is just easier to understand now because there are so many analogies we can show that people grasp. Now they understand, oh, there's thousands of signals flying through this room right now, and the only reason I don't pick it up is I don't have the right receiver. Right? I'm
Right.
not tuning in to it. Well, people can tune in. And so then you go into explaining consciousness, and then there's a whole nother level of non-local consciousness,
Right.
consciousness that exists outside of the body that we're discovering now. So that's where it's easier now more than ever to at least be open to spirituality. Where before you're like, that's just pure nonsense, magic. You can't explain it. No, there's ways to explain it in a way that people can grasp more.
So, is it fair to say that healing touch is an activation that is allowing you to operate in those frequencies that you were not able
Yes.
to before?
And in healing touch, if you think about what is it that in healing touch they're actually transmitting, right? So, for
Hmm.
instance, in healing touch, one of the things that shocked me when I went to the healing touch session back in 2018 was I'm lying on the table and I'm feeling heat. Like
Hmm.
I've, Rita has said, lie down on this table and just relax. If you want to fall asleep, right? And all of a sudden, I feel heat emanating like I'm in an oven, right? I'm feeling temperature. You open the oven and the hot air hits you in the face. I'm feeling that. So I'm thinking this lady's about to kiss me. She must be super close. I must be feeling her breath, right?
Uh-huh.
I open my eyes and her hand is a good distance away, 2 feet
Hmm.
away, right? And I'm like, wait a minute. That makes it. And as soon as I open my eyes, I'm like, what's going on? And then that's when I got the download. So in healing touch, there was a transference of energy. Now, where that energy comes
Right.
from is subject to debate. But in healing touch, the idea is that we are surrounded by energy, right? Some people will call it 0 point energy. But we have energy around and we're tapping into that. And that energy combined with intent. So the intent is what we provide, right? Is taking that energy and the intent was healing. So in terms of healing touch, it's more than just feeling the energy, but having an intention
Hmm.
behind it and knowing how to understand how to manipulate that energy, but two, understanding the thought behind it, right? The willpower behind it, that intent. And that's where I think, more exploration is needed, but the study of consciousness and the study of uh, energy and healing is
Hmm.
coming together to where it makes actually total sense.
You mentioned the Matrix and what happened to you, in the best way that you could describe it. And again, this was not something that I would even normally remember, much less bring up, but I had a similar experience when I was little. And I think I know what happened, but you said now you've got the science to explain it. Can you explain it? What happened?
Oh, for that on the mountaintop.
Hmm.
So for me, and this people would have to understand kind of some of the things that I've discovered, right? So in my paranormal investigations for the past few years, I've uncovered everything from voices, which I kind of specialize in more in the electronic voice phenomena or EVPs,
Hmm.
to manipulation and the ability for uh, things that are in resonance with each other and coherence. Coherence
Hmm.
being stability, resonance being that connection that you
Hmm.
have, and the ability to manipulate things through frequency. Case in point, people know that some people have seen experiments where sound alone can be used to float or levitate things. And we've
Hmm.
seen little devices here where you see a rock being held in midair by sound, or sound from the top and from the bottom holding uh, that rock, right? But so there's a lot of evidence of the manipulation of frequencies to be able to move things. So in terms of me hovering, for instance, was there something manipulating that frequency that allowed me to move? So there are some things that we know that there's the possibility of levitation. The question is who's doing the levitating? And now
Right.
that is a different story. Can I tell you that I floated? Yes, I can tell you 110% I was floating, and I floated nice and easy, okay, down to where I could land on my fingertips with not an indent or anything on my hands or my toes, right?
What about bending space-time?
What about it? That's definitely something we do now. I mean, think about it this way. If you look at quantum entanglement, right, people would say, well, how is it that we can, how can we travel from one point to another, right? Or how
Well,
can we
yeah,
have,
from an upright position to a lying face down position.
right,
That's what
right.
that's what I mean is that if you guys were in the zone there on the mountain, that it's very easy, I could see that happening. With somebody like you. This isn't somebody, other people may have it happen and they can't explain it or that, they're not going to talk about it, but
Well, okay, so the mechanics behind it, we know that it's possible to float, to levitate.
mhm.
Again, the question is who, and even more importantly for me, why, right? Why was it at that point in time that that happened to me, to where other people saw it, right?
Mhm.
Joanna, my wife, saw it with me, and I never. One of the things that I regret is not at that point in time. I just thought it was God. I said, God
Mhm.
must have saved me. Thank you. And I didn't think anything of it. Like I was like, wow, shocking. But it wasn't until I wish at that point I would have taken the time to go, you know what? Something absolutely divine happened to me. And I want to understand because I would have started my research 5, 10 years earlier, right? Than I did.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh, but the fact of the matter is maybe, as we say, there's a journey and there was a point in time that I was supposed to really be motivated to do this.
Mhm.
But, when we talk about space and time, let me put it this way. I had a voice, and this is kind of jumping a bit ahead. We captured a voice on phone,
Mhm.
voice that said, um, I'm, we had voices that literally communicate, and this is recordings. You can hear this on my website, right? That said, I'm 24th century
Whoa.
time, right? Where we like, and it was a full on voice. It wasn't a whisper. It was a full on Indian accent from England, like someone who was from India, excuse me, it's in India, saying, I'm 24th century. Okay. And then we've had other instances where voices said, when we ask where they're from, they say 10th dimension.
Wow.
I literally said, where are you from? I think in New York, Oregon, California. And it says, they say, oh no, they just said 10th dimension, 10th, 10th. And we keep repeating
Because
10th, 10th.
time is as much a place as it is a thing.
And get this, in the 10th, so there was a one voice that literally said, there are 10 dimensions. Like a full sentence. There are
Uh-huh.
10 dimensions. Okay. In the 10th dimension, by the way, in quantum physics, we believe that there are 10 dimensions. Quantum physics. Okay.
Mhm.
We are in the third dimension. First dimension is a line. Second dimension is a plane. Third dimensions are cube. Fourth dimensions, time. But in the 10th dimension, all time, all universes, all realities converge in one place, an omniverse.
Mhm.
So when a spirit says, or a being says, I'm from the
Mhm.
10th dimension, would make sense. Time, space don't matter in the 10th dimension. Everything converges in the 10th
Mhm.
dimension. So these
Mhm.
are things that we're hearing that I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
piece that together, combine it with other things that we're researching, and you start to see a bigger picture that we've never heard before. But I'm capturing this again in a way that
Right.
voices, right? It's one thing for me to say, I think I know. It's another for me to go, listen, can you hear this?
Yeah.
You decide.
So we're just about ready to come up on a break. So in the next segment, do you think that you would you be able to play some EVPs for us?
I'd love to.
Oh, that would be awesome. So I'm always wanting people to know where they can find you. So, what is the best website for people to find out more information about you?
Check out metaphysicallearning.com. It's
Okay. Okay.
a
Easy
site where
enough.
we have that metaphysicallearning.com and paranormallearning.com. More of the EVPs and so on are more on the paranormal learning.
Okay. And then you're going to be at some of the Spirit Fest events as well.
Yes.
The next one we've got coming up is in Punta Gorda. That's the weekend of July 11th. So it's about a month from now. Spiritfestusa.com is where all of our details are. And so I literally cannot wait to come back after the break and talk more. So hang out, everybody. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is the Celtic seer, Barbara McGillicuddy, and you can find me at barbaramcgillicuddy.com or on YouTube at Metaphysical Awakenings with Barbara and Eric. As a medium and animal communicator, it is my joy to speak with people on this side and people who have crossed over to bring forth beautiful messages of love.
Hi, I'm Susan from My Enchanted Path, where I create divinely guided candles, intention oils, soaps, and more that make your spiritual practice simple. No complicated rituals needed. The names may be playful, but every product is serious about helping you shift your energy. All fragrances are clean and safe, free from the major toxins no one wants in their home or on their skin. With a 5-star rating and over 100,000 customers, MyEnchantedPath.com is a place to find charming items for an enchanted life.
Are you longing for the deepest healing of your soul? The kind that transforms you from the soul outward? At JewishHealer.com, Dr. Doran Shalev offers powerful energy healing rooted in the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah, where he heals the body through the soul and the soul through divine connection. Your transformation begins with a single session. Treat yourself and book yours today at JewishHealer.com. All sessions are 50% off through December.
Join us for Spirit Fest, coming soon to a city near you. Spirit Fest is a metaphysical, holistic, and crystal expo featuring an amazing array of vendors, speakers, authors, artists, crystals, healers, psychic readers, and more. Spirit Fest is your chance to explore and connect with others of like mind. Get all details, including our upcoming locations up and down the East Coast, also discounted admission, and more at spiritfestusa.com. Our next event is January 10th and 11th with special guests and special presentations, including psychic explorer, medium Mark Anthony, and also historical researcher, explorer, and author Jim Vieira. More details are coming to our website soon, and we look forward to seeing you at Spirit Fest in 2026. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit. We are having a really great metaphysical discussion with Ronnie Tsunami, the creator of the Metaphysical Learning Center, who has got so much experience in metaphysics and spirituality, consciousness. And we are really diving into a lot of the experiences that he had and then talking about how the science of that kind of connects to it. When this is just really interesting. So we talked about some EVPs, electric voice phenomena, that you had. Did you start doing ghost tours or ghost hunts, or how did you realize that you could pick up the EVPs?
So we've been watching shows, right, for years and thinking, okay, maybe a lot of this is faked. Ghost adventures, ghost hunters. A lot of people have been curious about it, but then there's been a lot of debate, right, whether it's real or not. So when I started as a psychic medium, hearing things and seeing things, and again, people were like, how did you know this? How did you know that? I mean, I have a lot of stories that are in my book, The God Signal. I wanted to try to explain that. But how do you explain it? Because no matter what I tell you, you're just going to say, okay, you made it up.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
you. Okay. if I'm a psychic or psychic medium, I can say I'm talking to your mother, and you're like, yeah, well, it's kind of general. There's a lot of things that doesn't every mother say that to their child, right?
Right.
There's a lot of things that are easy to dismiss, and then there's something specific. When I had a client who I said, right, I'm talking to them. I'm like, who's lingo? What's lingo? Lingo, and she's like, that's my son-in-law, right? Lingo is not a typical name, right? So for that to come through, like, okay, and then I started explaining things. That's where it gets curious, but still, people will just say, lucky guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to show proof. I'm dying to show proof, and I'm a technologist, right? I'm like, I got to show something. Otherwise, you're just going to think I'm a crazy, wacky guy. So I got into paranormal investigations, and I have a friend named Connie. Connie, she's amazing. She wanted to do ghost hunting. We've never done ghost hunting. Okay, so we did start doing some ghost hunting and went to a park. I'm not going to say where because we just don't give away our sources, but you can find the videos on my website. Mm-hmm. But we went through, and I can actually play this for you. The very first EVP, I go out there, I bought a couple devices. So I bought an EMF detector, electromagnetic field detector. I bought a video camera, nothing fancy, a cheap camera off of TikTok or something, okay? Mm-hmm. I got this camera, and we had our phone. So there are a couple of apps that we use. Ghost Science M3 is my favorite app. It's only on the iPhone. So we're on it. We're watching it, the devices, and I'm walking through this park next to a stream. And I'm like, okay, we spent a couple hours. I go home. I'm excited, right? I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down. I grab my earbuds, and you always watch the ghost hunting shows. And the ghost hunting shows, they have big earphones. They're sitting in front of a monitor, and they sit there for hours, right? Just listening, bored, but they listen, and then they catch something, and they're like, oh my God, it's a word, right? One word. Or they heard a breath, and oh my God, everyone flips out, right? So I'm like, okay, I want to do what I'm going to see what I catch. I sit down, grab some food, grab my earbuds. I'm sitting at the dining table, put my earphones on. 20 seconds in, 20, not 4 hours in, 20 seconds into this, I hear, Ron, it's your aunt and Gracie. And I'm like, First of all, I have an aunt. There was a cat, and Gracie. Well, she died 2 months before this event, and my aunt had died 2 years before. So I goes, it's your aunt and Gracie. And I'm like, I'm hearing this on my earphone, and I'm shocked, right? Because it's my very first analysis of an EVP session. Some people wait years before they pick up a session, before they hear anything. I pick it up in 20 seconds. So if you want to, I can play it for you right now.
Oh, yeah. Let's.
Okay, let's do this. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, and I'm going to turn on, make sure we have computer sound that can be shared. Okay, and we're going to optimize. All right, so here is a video. I have some captions here for you as well. There are others there. Okay, so a couple key things for that. Ron, right? It's your Ann and Gracie. And then after that, we're walking away. And that was a whisper. Later on, actually, that's a combination of two different sessions. One was one session. We went back like the day later, on our next day. And I'm walking away, and I'm kind of mad because I had to leave to go to a dinner. And one of the other investigators was like, we need to go. And I was like, well, we're catching all these readings. We're catching high electromagnetic fields. And they're like, we got to go. And I'm like, okay. So I'm walking away to head back to the car. And he goes, hey, Ronnie. Right. And then in a voice, not a whisper, the voice says, that's a good baby. Right. And
Yeah.
and I didn't hear it at the time. I kind of heard something. I turn around and you can see me move the camera. Like, what? And I walk up, but it goes, "That's a good baby," like making fun of me. Now, what's even weirder is we did another investigation by a lake like months later,
Mm-hmm.
and another being, I don't even call them spirits anymore, I call them beings, says, "That's a good baby," to kind of reiterate
Mm-hmm.
what I heard, before. So when you hear that, and you know this information, like, I was there, I recorded, no one can tell me this is fake, right?
Right.
Non-local consciousness. There was nobody that made the voice.
So there's two things that come to my mind. So one is the ability of these people that are not in our time space to be able to make the contact, and I know that any equipment can pick it up, but some people are definitely better at it than others. So do we want to
Yes.
talk about how our consciousness is working with the electronics?
Yeah. So, and there's a couple of things that come into play here. When you talk about consciousness, and I get this all the time because there are people that will listen to the same EVPs and they'll hear something completely different, or
Mm-hmm.
some of them don't hear anything at all. And if you have a skeptic, when a skeptic hears this, it's not unusual for skeptics to say, "I don't hear anything,"
Mm-hmm.
because you have to be in tune to be even open to hearing anything. So if you're already shutting down from literally a mental standpoint, every emotion, every feeling is a frequency.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is a frequency. So you're already shutting yourself off when you say, "I don't hear anything,"
Mm-hmm.
right? Or you're being closed-minded. You have an emotion, a feeling. That's already putting you in a different frequency. So you have to be in a state of at least being able to listen, open frequency, to even have a chance to hear something.
Mm-hmm.
And your state of mind, we call it pareidolia, is when you hear something that is based on your state of mind. So, for instance, if I'm in a happy mood, I might hear happy things. If I'm in
Mm-hmm.
a pissed off mood, I'm going to hear things that are going to be more slanted towards the negative, right? So the question is, which is real? And pareidolia says that you're going to hear what you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But when you have 100 people with no context, didn't see any captions, who say the same thing, "I heard
Yeah.
this,"
Yeah.
that's when you start to go, okay, that's no longer a moment. That is a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
That is something we can measure. That is something we can validate across an audience, right? That's what I try to do. So it's one thing for me to say something, but it's another
Mm-hmm.
for 1,000 people who listen to this to say, "I heard this."
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that from a scientific standpoint in terms of I built a tool called the EVP consensus tool, which is designed to measure people's responses without knowing anything other than hearing the
Mm-hmm.
file, right? For it. But yeah, that your state of mind matters,
Mm-hmm.
and everything's a frequency. So, have you heard of this when people are depressed and they want to kill themselves? Like there are people who said, "Oh my gosh, I've just had a breakup. I can't live. We are disconnected, right? We feel disconnected." So we hit a negative frequency. If everything's a frequency, let's just say that everything is a frequency, and there's low, medium, and high frequencies, at least low and high frequencies. If you are in a negative state of mind, a depressed state of mind, you are in a low frequency. When you are in a low frequency, your mind is tuned and going to attract low frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
So in a low frequency, you tend to have negative entities that can say things to you that you can hear better
Mm-hmm.
because you are in a low frequency yourself.
But
And
similarly, if you're in a high frequency and you're working with that electronic device and you're syncing your consciousness to that electronics. Now, my understanding is that's how the ETs are able to fly their craft, even that they are so good at being able to interface with their technology that so that's what I'm wondering is if that's happening with the EVPs.
yes. So your EVPs, in EVPs, it's interesting because there's not one line either, meaning there's not one phrase. So I'll hear a phrase and other people will hear a different phrase. But here's the interesting thing is, so I have a protocol that allows me to reduce frequencies and to basically dig down. I call it layering, right? when I reduce certain frequencies, I can hear certain things in the same audio. So the same audio file, I can hear one thing, strip out a frequency and hear another thing, strip out a frequency and hear another thing. So one frequency can have different messages in it.
Wow.
And I'm like, now, how do you believe this, right? People are going to go, well, I don't hear that. I'm like, because you're tuned in to a certain frequency. Music is very powerful because music has the same effect, right? Mm-hmm. One musical note, let alone a whole stanza, has the ability, right? If you hear a melody, has the ability to communicate so many things in your mind, so many emotions, so many feelings, just by hearing that one tune, because music is a combination of frequencies. And within each frequency, there can be multiple messages implied. So 30 seconds of music could be a whole book, right, of emotion written for you that only you can tune into. Mm-hmm. That's
what the Native Americans would do with their chanting and their drumming and the music too. That's what they're doing. They're creating a frequency. It's not just pleasing to the ear.
And again, multiple frequencies, and depending on your frequency, you pick up certain things that you and I can listen to the same message or same sound and come up with totally different messages.
Right. But these discarnate entities also do need to lower their vibration a bit to be able to communicate with us. So that's on them too. So I can't remember if we talked about this before, but the Punta Gorda venue is definitely haunted, and it's not negative energy. It is built on the location of a spa resort the place that would have been from around the turn of the last century, where wealthy people would go right there on the water. And I just think that there's a lot of residual energy there. It might not even be ghosts, so to speak. It might be, imprints, things like that.
Well, that's here's the biggest secret, I think, that is going to make Punta Gorda pretty cool. So, and this is for everyone, anyone who's listening to this, understand that I have yet to find a place where I did not catch voices. So there is a layer of reality, another layer, if you will, a spiritual phase, right? Dimension layered on top of ours, existing in the same space that we are. So when we go to Punta Gorda, I will guarantee you, we will catch voices. And spirits are all around. And yes, they're in the bathroom with you. Yes, they're in the bedroom with you. Yes, they are everywhere. And they can hear, they can tune in. So make no mistake about it. When we go to Punta Gorda, we will catch voices. But to your point, even just the atmosphere, right? The residual energy, again, is frequency. And frequency is everywhere. If we have the right devices tuned into it, we will end up seeing that or hearing that or feeling that as well. So it'll be interesting to see. Now, the beauty is when you actually have a double core, what I call a 3-star event. The 3-star event is 1, you hear a voice. 2, you have a trace of it, like an electromagnetic field that we can track, a spike in it, right, of that energy. And 3, if there is any kind of physical presence. So physical presence is where we can have a light cat ball that moves and shakes. So we have essentially a multi evidence occurrence, right? That shows up all at the same time. That's when we can show, because one thing you can kind of disprove when you have 2, when you have 3 things that are all corroborating each other, that's where you're like, that's the evidence that is more helpful in showing other people that we are spiritual beings living a human existence.
Yeah. Somebody just asked me the other day about why ghosts are, there, or what they're doing and things like that. And that's what I was saying, was that when you're dead, you're no longer confined to the physical. So you can go anywhere that you want.
Right.
So like if you cross over tomorrow, where would you go? I can think of like 10 places I would go immediately. And one of them, which I think a lot of people do, and that is truly haunted, is the Haunted Mansion at Disney, because it says 999 ghosts. Are you going to, still waiting for one more? How many people don't want to be a ghost at the Haunted Mansion? And I truly think that they go. I worked there. I was in engineering services, and I worked in the haunted mansion. And that was one of our areas. And there was grown men who would not be alone in that ride at night when the lights were on, even.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So they and because there's lockout tags, so that if you are in the ride, you have to have your ID at the station, so that everybody, they don't turn the ride on until everybody's collected their IDs. So they
Well,
know that nobody can be in there, but they're seeing people in there.
but that's the crazy thing, though. In the paranormal space and the metaphysical space, and understanding that metaphysical, right, going beyond. The beyond is here. That's the norm.
Hmm.
And the biggest secret in the paranormal space is that everything is paranormal, which makes it normal. Like there's beings and spirits everywhere I record,
Right, right.
okay, and I can prove it,
Hmm.
then that's the norm. If that's the norm, you do not have to watch a show that goes to a house in the forest at 3:33 in the morning to
Right.
hear ghosts. If all you wanted, right
Yeah.
now, I was with an Uber driver here in Florida. I was driving from the airport, or he was driving me from Palm Beach. I'm headed over to Stewart, and he's driving me, and he talks to me about UFOs, and I go, I'm more into the spirits. And he's like, really? I go, yeah, I'm the founder of Paranormal Learning. And he goes, oh, I feel like my mother's always with me. Because one time I was with my mother eating pizza at my house. She was gone. I had her picture on the table, and I felt like she was right behind me, and I started crying. And I
Mm.
was like, she probably was. And then I felt the mother in the Uber with us,
Yeah.
right? And I'm in the back seat of this Uber, and I go, well, your mother's here. And he's like, what? And he turns around, big, 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 burly guy. So I go, hey, would you like to talk to her? And he says, what? And I go, you can talk to your mother. Everybody, by the way, can talk to what I call interdimensional beings or IBs.
Right.
So I go, you can talk to your mother. And he's like, no, 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 no. And I go, no, this is how you do it. So I teach him. I say, here, grab your phone. Just grab the memo recorder on it. Okay. Put it here. Introduce yourself. Put it on recording. You're going to put in recording, the highest setting, and introduce yourself. And here's what you're going to say. So I teach him this method. I get out of the car because he drops me off at the hotel. 10 minutes later, I get a call from him. I'm in bed. It's 10 p.m. at night. And he says, Ron, this is John. This is your Uber driver from New York. I go, yeah. He goes, would you mind coming down? And I'm like, where? I'm in front of the hotel. I'm like,
Wow.
okay. So I jump outside. I put my clothes on. I go downstairs. He opens the door. I sit in the back seat. He puts his phone up and he connects it to his car speakers. So he says, and he's in the front seat. I'm in the back seat. And he goes, would you listen to this? So I hear him and he goes, hi, Mom, this is John. I heard I could talk to you. And so he starts saying a couple things. And he says, would you mind talking to me? Silence. Then he says, I really appreciate it. If you talk to me, I love you. Right? And then you hear, I love you.
Wow.
That fast.
Yeah.
Right. And I go, the minute I heard it, I go, congratulations. You got your
Hmm.
first class A EVP.
Yeah.
Right? And he turns around because he didn't tell me what she said. He looks at me from behind and he says, did you hear that? I go, yeah, she said, I love you. Congratulations. I said, you
That's
know how many
awesome.
people don't get that? He starts bawling,
Aw.
bawling. He jumps out of the car, comes to the passenger side, opens the door. I step out, thinking he wants me out of his car. I come out of the car, and he just gives me this huge bear hug.
Yeah. That's
And he
proof of
says to
life
me,
after death. That's really important.
to know that your loved ones are
Hmm.
still here with you and can hear you. And if you would just listen,
Yeah.
that they can
Yeah.
talk to you.
So
Talk
that's the other thing. If you're crossed over, besides going to the haunted mansion, you're going to be around your family. You're going to be around your people. You're interested to know what they're doing.
Yes.
You might go to places that you lived when you were alive or places that you liked because now you can walk around. Nobody can see you. You can just enjoy being there and you're not, nobody's, not in anybody's way or you're not paid to get in. So that's why a lot of those places are quote unquote haunted, I think, because people enjoy being there. And then as we discussed, then there sometimes is an imprint, that they're not
Yeah,
actually
frequency,
there.
right? Every
Yeah.
every emotion has a frequency. So yes, don't get me wrong. If you go to a place that's had a lot of crime, or like there was some major event there, like a murder, right? Or you had people that were killed, obviously you're going to have negative energy to that, and people could still be tied to that place. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
whole number of theories around negative energy where it bands together, right? So when
Mm-hmm.
you have a negative energy, it, and I tell people this, I say, you do realize that how you live in this life, if you live a happy, not angry, not sad, it's a happy, high frequency life. When you pass, you will have a high frequency and you will band together with other high frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
Conversely, if you are low negative frequency, right,
Right.
and you die in that low negative frequency, there's
Yep.
a chance, a really good
Yeah.
chance, you're going to band because it's coherent.
Mm-hmm.
Frequencies naturally try to build stability. In that, you are going to resonate with other low frequencies, in which case some would call that, right, the worst place to be if you die.
And that's why you want to make sure that you're in a high vibe when you're doing that kind of
In a
work.
high vibe,
Otherwise,
and being in
that's what
high
you're going to
vibe
attract.
places with
Yeah.
high vibe people. And that's the thing. The other thing I tell people is, and especially for the metaphysical space, right? As we talk about how do we live a happier, more fulfilling life metaphysically, I understand that we're all of us are tuning forks. When you bang one tuning fork and you add it, bring it next to another one, the other tuning fork is going to vibrate at the same frequency, right? People are the same way. We are all waves. We're all made up of waves. That's the lowest common denominator of
Mm-hmm.
all of us, the building blocks, if you will. So we're all frequencies, and our frequencies combine together to end up creating a frequency that could be impacted by others. So when you have someone that's got a totally negative frequency and then ends up being next to you, if your frequency isn't strong enough to counter that, you
Mm-hmm.
yourself might go, I got a lot of bad vibes, or this person, what's the term? This person drains me. This person
Literally.
sucks the life out of me. What they're
Literally.
doing is they're lowering your frequency
Mm-hmm.
to theirs.
Yeah.
But you can conversely do the opposite. You can raise with your high frequency.
Yeah.
If you're aware of it, you
Mm-hmm.
can raise the frequency of other people around you. And that's what I try to tell people. I said,
Mm-hmm.
one, I already know there's non-local consciousness available, meaning we are people, we have a frequency, we're holding space in this particular body, but when you die, you simply shift frequency. There
Right.
is,
It's like walking into another room.
and you pass on. So
Right.
that's shifting frequency. So I said,
Right.
how you love people in this life impacts your frequency, which impacts where you go in the next. And I
Yeah.
said, when I can tell that from a metaphysical side, we tell this to people all the time, right? But people still have that, I believe it, kind of. But when I can show proof of the science behind it, then that increases belief. And when you increase belief,
Mm-hmm.
belief itself is a frequency.
Right. It is.
So-
All right. We're going to pause right there. It's almost time to go to another break, but I would like to expand on that when we get back from the break. And I want to talk more about science, consciousness, and spirituality overlapping, and some of the experiences that you've had in all of your, the different things that you've gotten into. So again, where can people find out more about you?
Metaphysicallearning.com is where they can learn more about the metaphysical side, the spirituality side, and
Mhm.
paranormallearning.com is where they can learn more about the science side with the evidence-based proof that we have collected there.
Okay, all right. And then we always talk about our website, but we're very active on Facebook. That's where all of our events are, and there's a lot of discussion in the Facebook events. And then we're on Instagram too, Spirit Fest USA, and also the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit. That's sort of our umbrella for all that we do, including the podcast. So stick with us, everybody, and we'll be back in a few minutes for another really interesting segment.
Hi, this is the Celtic seer, Barbara McGillicuddy, and you can find me at barbramcgillicuddy.com or on YouTube at Metaphysical Awakenings with Barbara and Eric. As a medium and animal communicator, It is my joy to speak with people on this side and people who have crossed over to bring forth beautiful messages of love.
Hi, I'm Susan from My Enchanted Path, where I create divinely guided candles, intention oils, soaps, and more that make your spiritual practice simple. No complicated rituals needed. The names may be playful, but every product is serious about helping you shift your energy. All fragrances are clean and safe, free from the major toxins no one wants in their home or on their skin. With a 5-star rating and over 100,000 customers, MyEnchantedPath.com is a place to find charming items for an enchanted life.
Are you longing for the deepest healing of your soul? The kind that transforms you from the soul outward? At JewishHealer.com, Dr. Doran Shalev offers powerful energy healing rooted in the ancient wisdom of Kabbalah, where he heals the body through the soul and the soul through divine connection. Your transformation begins with a single session. Treat yourself and book yours today at JewishHealer.com. All sessions are 50% off through December.
Join us for Spirit Fest, coming soon to a city near you. Spirit Fest is a metaphysical, holistic, and crystal expo featuring an amazing array of vendors, speakers, authors, artists, crystals, healers, psychic readers, and more. Spirit Fest is your chance to explore and connect with others of like mind. Get all details, including our upcoming locations up and down the East Coast, also discounted admission, and more at spiritfestusa.com. Our next event is January 10th and 11th with special guests and special presentations, including psychic explorer, medium Mark Anthony, and also historical researcher, explorer, and author Jim Vieira. More details are coming to our website soon, and we look forward to seeing you at Spirit Fest in 2026. Welcome back to the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit, everybody. I'm here with our special guest, Ronnie Tsunami, the creator of the Metaphysical Learning Center, and he has got a long list of accomplishments in the technology field, even in military complexes. And he's been studying a lot about metaphysics, about spirituality, about consciousness. So I want to talk about more about overlapping all of them. But if you could tell us more about your background in the technology and some of the research modalities that you're using.
Yeah. So for me, as I said, I've been in computer technology for a while. I was in the Air Force as a computer operations specialist, and then I worked at the Pentagon, and then I actually got out of the Air Force and worked for the Secretary of Defense at the time, which is William Cohen in the Clinton administration. So I was a network engineer and did things. And I worked for Microsoft actually to build training and education programs. So in marketing, I got from technology into marketing because through training. Marketing is customer education. So I started building learning solutions. And so my research was a natural extension of that, right? Everything that I do is as a trainer. In fact, I used to manage 150 colleges on the continuing education side, building training and education programs. And the colleges would outsource their continuing education programs around business and technology. And the company I was with, I was the chief learning officer, would actually have that be responsible for putting those programs together. So it was natural for me. Anything that I want to learn, I learn as though I'm going to teach it. So for me, when I started to learn more about or wanting to understand what I had become as a psychic and psychic medium, again, I did not believe it, right? So I was learning everything about it, and I was learning it as though I was going to teach it. That's how I learned. And so paranormal learning and metaphysical learning were born out of that. And quite honestly, I was fine with paranormal learning. I consider psychics paranormal. For me, I consider being a psychic more than normal, right? That's paranormal. But as I started to work with more psychics, a good friend of mine, Helen, who interviewed a lot of psychics over the years, said, hey, you have to understand, a lot of psychics don't like to be called paranormal. I said, what do you mean? They said, that's just not, they're more metaphysical. Hence, out of paranormal learning, I created metaphysical learning. So I could approach it more from the spirituality side of things. And so my research stemmed from that of one, teach as though we want to teach it, right? How do we scale this to teach more people about the science of woo, right? The science of the metaphysical, in a way that's easier for people to be open to the idea and not be scared off by it, right? Some people are naturally drawn to the paranormal, so they'll come to that. Others are more drawn to the metaphysical side of things. So take your pick, right? We cover our bases in it, but the methodology is the same. As much as I say the metaphysical is more on the spiritual side, there is still some science behind it. And on the paranormal, there's science and part of the spirituality. And what bridges them together is the consciousness. You talked about what the overlap is. Yes. Consciousness, or the study more specifically of non-local consciousness, is what bridges both the paranormal and the paranormal and the metaphysical side of things. Because now, even on the paranormal side, people talk about UFOs a lot. But as you just mentioned, a lot of people talk about UFOs and aliens being able to control their devices, right? To control their craft with their mind. And not just, but here's the crazy thing too. It's not just aliens, right? People will say on the paranormal side that humans have been able to reverse engineer and control the same type of devices and craft as what we call aliens. And there's a whole other story about why I say what we call aliens. I actually don't believe that they're as alien as we think. But point being is that we know that we are reverse engineering things, and there's a whole study of that where people in the government, currently in the government, say this is real, right? So there's like all this disclosure now coming forth. But in the same way, we have the same type of thing happening in the metaphysical space. So the paranormal space, there's more of this disclosure, and there's science trying to explain, to teach people behind what we hear about in the paranormal space. But in the metaphysical space, you have the same thing. Consciousness, or non-local consciousness, and the study of non-local consciousness as a field around us, is now able to explain more of the things that we used to say happen in the spiritual space, but couldn't explain how. Now we have a science behind it that says, oh, you mean you can tap into other people's fields? Yes, we know there is a field that stands at least 3 to 6 feet from each person. And when you get in close proximity to someone else, your fields do what? They combine. Yeah. And if they resonate, how closely they resonate, right? How closely they're in tune to each other means you can actually feel that person or hear their thoughts. So psychic mediums or psychics, even just psychics, I say just psychics, but psychics who can basically read your frequency and can often adjust their frequency to tune into your frequency. Not just by chance, but they know it and they can feel it and they go, I'm tapping in, right? I'm tuning into you. Right. That has its foundations in physics and quantum physics. Right. So there's no longer that's fringe science. It's like, no, we do that now. There's cross, right? There's literally cross when you have certain wires with certain fields combined with next, not even touching, but next to another type of cord, you can have those fields interfere with each other. Okay, it's just that some people, through practice often, can tune in and understand what that cross signal is. And that's the challenge, right? When we say being able to discern, how do you discern your thoughts from the thoughts of other people that you're reading? If anyone here is listening and said, I'm empathic, the question is, how do you know? How do you know you're empathic? Well, maybe it's your own thoughts. That it's practice makes progress. If you practice listening to your own thoughts and being fully aware of what's your thoughts, your consciousness, right, and knowing what that is, like you, and knowing when there's another consciousness or another field that's interacting with yours, and you going, that's not mine, that's someone else's. To be
Yes.
able to discern that is part of the starting process for new empaths to truly start to get a grasp of what they're feeling versus what other people are feeling. And the crazy thing too is that when you're more aware of this, you actually, it's like the red car scenario, right? When you're looking for a red car, you see red cars. When you're not looking for them, you never see them,
Right.
right? Well, when you know you're psychic, or
Right.
when you recognize what's intuitive and what's you also recognize it in other places. You recognize other people's intuition or fields, as I call it, coming into your field. And that's what we try to teach. So in metaphysical learning, that's where we're much more on the psychic side of things,
Right.
the psychic mediumship, and we teach how to tune into, and the first part of tuning in is fully understanding what's your field, what is your tune first, so that you know who you are first versus other people coming into your field.
That's what Edgar Mitchell was, an astronaut, and he was an atheist, and he had an aha moment when he was in space, when he was in the space capsule watching everything in the universe go by him. And he just said, this cannot be an accident. This cannot be just random. And he founded the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and no means intuition in Sanskrit. And that's combining all of these things and finding the connectedness of all of it, because all of it is connected. But, we're finding out that there's just more and more to connect.
In quantum physics, there's a theory called quantum holography. So in quantum holography, keep in mind, everything is information, right, in quantum physics. So in quantum holography, the belief is that we have a source, and that source projects a hologram, right? And so imagine a projector projecting, and imagine imagine spherical balls, right? Like a mirrored ball, right? And you're a mirrored ball, I'm a mirrored ball. Your reality is you being the projection of reality itself is projected on your ball. You interact with that, and what happens is you shine part of your ball on my spherical ball. And there's all these spherical balls, right? Spheres, metal spheres all around, or glass spheres all around, right? Reflecting each other. So not only do we have our own reality, but we're reflecting our reality on other people's reality, and hence the interaction. But here's the crazy thing is there's still a single source. So the question is, what is that source? So even in quantum physics, there's a belief that, no different than, in the spirituality side, right? We say source. In religion, we might say God, okay? But there is, even in quantum physics, a source. And that source, there are many theories about that, but one of the theories is that we live our life, we live our reality, and we experience. It's the journey that matters, right? We're spiritual beings living a human existence. Why? We're in this human body to feel, to see, to hear what this body can, right? It's a diving suit in the ocean that allows us to survive and interact in this particular reality. But then what? We take these experiences and we upload them into source. Okay. That's, to me, why everything that I do now is about the journey. I spend more time in the journey and trying to raise my frequency and raising the frequency of other people around them, knowing that frequencies impact each other. But at the end of the life, if you will, of our lives, we are going to upload to some point. And that's in quantum physics, everything is information stored somewhere. Where it's, and everyone says, well, when you die, your energy disperses all over the place, right? Because energy doesn't disappear. I say, yes, and that energy carries information. And we know in quantum physics, everything is based on information. And frequencies unlock information. So if you have the right frequency, you unlock the right information. And this explains a lot of the downloads that people get. This even explains karma, that people talk about, or they talk about past lives. The question is, in, and I know this is going to rattle a lot of cages here. When we talk about spirituality, people will talk about past lives with me a lot of times, and they'll say, they'll say that their energy essentially was a lifetime before, and then you have other lifetimes that your energy's passed to other bodies, right? And you're simply shifting your frequency into other bodies. In quantum physics, the belief is that, again, this is, in this case, it's theory, not something proven, but the theory is that when a child says, I was a pilot in the 1940s in World War II, they have a frequency, because everyone gives off a frequency, has a frequency, and that frequency happened to unlock that piece of information that was saved by someone living that life, that bomber in 1942, okay, that was saved in that particular piece of information. And that person is downloading, that child is downloading that lifetime saved of information because they happen to have the right frequency. Okay.
Yeah, and if we're only using 10% of our brain power, what's that other 90% doing? So it can be doing it, and yeah, being able to access that is definitely not out of the question. The kids are just good enough too that they're not having the doubts. Oh, I can't do that. That's not real.
And now there's talk of our own DNA being essentially being tuned into the universe, right? So our DNA, our minds are nothing more. And this is actually a real belief in terms of consciousness research, that our minds are receivers and transceivers. So we're transmitters and receivers, or transceivers being both. We're able to gather information and also send information out. The question is, where are we sending information to? Okay. But even when people have brain health issues, right? They're short circuiting. Their brain is like a radio that something banged the radio, a wire got loose, and now they can't get the right signal. Maybe the signal's coming into the radio, but it's not being sent out right through the system to the speakers, or maybe something got damaged with the antenna and the signal is not able to get across into the radio, right? So if our bodies are nothing more than a radio, then where is our signal coming from?
Right.
Non-local, and that would explain when people die. And when I'm capturing voices and I'm able to hear this, there's no body, there's nothing here for me to go, okay, this, there's no housing for that particular voice, where I have nothing, I have no choice but to go, okay, it's non-local. If non-local consciousness exists, which I've been showing, right, through the evidence, what else is real that we say is not real, that science hasn't proven? That opened the door. When people start to go, wait a minute, if you show that there's non-local consciousness, and that consciousness means that consciousness can exist outside the body, then you have to ask yourself, okay, where do we go? Where did we come from? Do we have control? Based on my evidence, people, the non-local consciousness, report emotions. They report facts that can be verified. So they have memory of things. So they have memory, they have emotions, they have goals of who they want to reach, who they want to talk to. They have regrets. Wait a minute. You mean your personality and all your emotions and all of your feelings survive after you pass? Then what else is real? That opens the door. That's what's, when you uncover that, everything becomes part of the journey. You're like, wait a minute, what else is real that science dismisses as,
This is why it's really good to have community to talk to about things like this. Because when you can share experiences, people might say, I know it sounds really crazy, but then when you hear somebody else that it might have happened to them as well, or they can really relate and things like that, the community is a big thing. And also knowing what you don't know, just knowing that there's more to a certain topic or things, and then like inspires that interest, like you were talking about, the curiosity.
Curiosity. Well, and here's the thing about community, as you talked about that. So I did a talk years ago for the International Society of Subtle Energy and Energy Medicine. I did a talk on, which is, noetics. I theme has been around for a long time as well. So I spoke about how to accelerate the shift to higher consciousness through communities. That was my talk. And the idea was that if we are all tuning forks, when one tuning fork approaches another tuning fork, it has the same frequency. It can vibrate at the same frequency, right? And we can impart information to each other as well. 1 + 1 = 3. So if you take your phone, your wireless signal, and you take another, and you got a weak signal, right? If you take it and put it next to another phone, did you know your phone signal grows in strength with this other phone signal?
Really?
So when you have a weak signal and your other friend says, well, I have a weak signal too, don't just go, I guess we're out of luck. Grab their phone and put it next to your phone. It increases the signal.
I did not know that.
Signal.
Okay.
So it's a synergistic effect. 1 + 1 = 3. So if you have one enlightened person next to another enlightened person, okay, when I say enlightened, meaning lighted, like you are literally a light bulb. Okay, if you're a light bulb next to another light bulb, the radius or the field of radiance grows bigger than just the individual light bulb. So it's a synergistic effect. 1 + 1 = 3. Now, and when you have light bulbs that are next to each other, moths and other things come by because they're curious about the light, right? So they'll come closer. That's the way I equate communities. When you have one light bulb next to another light bulb, next to another light bulb, with 100, 1,000, 100,000, a million people, a million light bulbs next to each other, lighted, you then have a way bigger field of light that attracts all the people that are not lighted yet to come see your light. That's the power of community. The ability, one, to create more feeling, right? More emotion, more curiosity, more positive vibes together with the ability to grow faster because as, again, the light grows and that light attracts others. So it starts to pick up speed and you start to have this expansion. Okay. That's the power of what we call the shift, right? The shift in higher consciousness. And I tell people, listen, there's more at stake here than you think. By not being conscious, by not being aware, by not trying to help light other people or to raise the frequency of other people, those people are staying in negative. And the more people that stay in the negative, they can in turn impact other people and turn them negative too, if it's strong enough, right?
That's really what we're doing at Spirit Fest is when all of us can gather of like mind and be of that high energy. We do an opening prayer, a circle where everybody gathers their energy together. And that's literally what we ask for is, for the people that are attracted to that to come and that they're going to be able to resonate with that and then take that away and then be able to, because we're so much more synergistic. We're not 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. We're so much bigger together.
More. And I think that's what I keep telling people. I said, my mission right now, as I used to tell people, my mission is to help those who help others, right? I help speakers, coaches, authors. Now I'm like, my mission is to raise the frequency of everybody because that's what's at stake. And what's at stake is literally where we go in the next life, right? Frequency of everybody together. And that's what drives me in what I do. I strive to teach people, to encourage people, to give them hope and belief. When they have belief, because the science backs it up, they have a belief that increases and it accelerates the shift to a higher vibration. And I go, we need more of that belief.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely understand that. And if people, they don't even need to understand it. The people that resonate with it, that are drawn to it, that's for a reason because they're ready for it. And, then they can easily more absorb, assimilate the higher energies and things too, because you can't just flip the light on, because it'll blind people, that much light.
Right. And it's the other thing I equate to the light bulb. when I talk about the analogy is you have darkness in your light bulb. So I call it a paint. Paint is surrounding your light bulb. And so if you have guilt and you have little pieces of guilt here and there, I said, when you feel guilt, they create a little patch of darkness on your light bulb. When you release that guilt or shame, you clean that light bulb a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? For Buddhists, we tend to want to, clean our light bulb, right? We live a clean life. We don't kill. We don't, we don't create bad feelings with anybody. Our whole thing is about essentially creating a clean light bulb, where others, you're like, man, your light bulb's kind of dark. It's really dark. You need a little more help to clean that up. But that's the thing, is that people have the ability not just to help themselves, but everyone has the ability to help other people not feel shame, not feel guilt, not feel anger.
Yeah.
To create a light bulb that's brighter. And again, when we work together to create this group of light bulbs that's brighter, we end up creating a bigger field of light, of luminosity, as I call it. And that luminosity then shines and attracts more. And that to me is the goal for me. It's very much about being the light.
Yeah. Literally being the light. I love that. So we've got just a few minutes left here. So what is the closing message that you would like to leave people with? You've got a great community. You've got a great platform with your Metaphysical Learning Center, and I do hope that people are going to take a look at it. But, if you could give some advice to the people that are maybe just starting on this path or really kind of just ready to go to a higher level, what would you say?
How you live in this life impacts where you go in the next.
But not because of judgment.
No, because your frequency matters.
Yeah.
Okay? And your frequency impacts other people around you. And this life, this journey that we live in, take in every moment, because it's designed for a reason. But take it in and try to raise your frequency and enjoy every moment, because what you take in this life, again, will end up helping you in the next life. And that next life, doesn't matter what you believe. You might believe that you come back to this life. Well, then you're of a higher frequency. If you believe you move on to another dimension, it matters. But too many people feel like, well, I'm going to live this life kind of in a dull, numb, right, world until I pass on. I go, no. Live this life to the fullest.
Yes.
Enjoy the journey and understand this journey is for a reason. You take this information, you go and you share with other people. You share with the rest of the universe, as we call it. Okay, in more ways than one. But enjoy it, and you have the ability to impact not just your life and you have the ability to raise the frequency of everyone around you. But you have to want to make a difference to be that light.
That's beautiful. That's a great closing statement. Thank you so much, Ronnie, for your time. I always say we could have talked another hour. So hopefully we can have you on again, because there's a lot more that I'd like to get into. So
I say
website,
aloha, So
aloha, yes. Your website, the metaphysicallearningcenter.com.
Metaphysicallearning.com.
Okay.
Metaphysical and paranormallearning.com. Metaphysical learning, the psychic training, and then the paranormal learning, more on the science side of paranormal investigations.
All right. And you can meet Ronnie in person at a Spirit Fest near you. Next is going to be Punta Gorda coming up in July. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us, and we'll see you next week. Spending this time with me here on the Sanctuary Network. Tune in every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Transformation Network as we gather to share stories, wisdom, and practices that remind us of something essential. Sanctuary isn't just a place you go. It's a space you create in your heart, your home, and your daily life. I hope today's conversation sparked something in you, a sense of belonging, a new idea, or simply a reminder that you are not alone on this journey. If this touched you, please share it with someone who could use a little light. Together, we can grow this circle of sanctuary and inspire a ripple of healing around the world. And don't forget, the journey continues at spiritfestusa.com, thesanctuarynetwork.com, and naturalwellnessexpo.com. And of course, every week right here on Transformation Network. Until next time, may you be well, may you be inspired, and may you live fully in sanctuary.